You check your bank account every single day. You use a budgeting app. You haven't bought coffee from Starbucks in 6 months because you make it at home. You split appetizers with friends to save money. You're proud of yourself because you actually have $3,000 in your savings account, more than most Americans, right? And yet, you're still broke. You're doing everything the personal finance gurus tell you to do. You're being good with money. But somehow, you're not getting ahead. You're stuck in the exact same financial position you were in 2 years ago. Maybe you've even gone backwards. Here's the thing, and this is going to sound crazy, but being good with money might actually be the thing keeping you poor. My name is Dexon, and I spent way too much time thinking about why financially responsible people stay broke, while financially reckless people sometimes get rich. If you're someone who's tired of doing all the right things with money but still living paycheck to paycheck, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Because what I'm about to show you completely flips traditional personal finance advice on its head. Look, I need you to understand something that the financial education industry doesn't want you to know. There's a massive difference between being good with money and being wealthy with money. And most financial advice, it's designed to make you good with money, not wealthy. Let me show you what I mean with some actual numbers. According to a 2024 study by the Federal Reserve, 63% of Americans who actively budget and track their expenses still can't cover a $400 emergency without borrowing money or selling something. Read that again. These aren't financially irresponsible people. These are people doing exactly what they're supposed to do. They're being good. And they're still one car repair away from financial catastrophe. Here's what most people don't realize. Being good with money focuses on one thing: reducing expenses. And while that's important, it has a mathematical ceiling. You can only cut your expenses down to zero. You can't cut them below that. Let me give you a real example. Sarah makes $50,000 a year. She's incredibly disciplined. She reads every personal finance book. She cuts her budget from $48,000 a year down to $40,000 through sheer willpower. She's amazing, right? She's now saving $10,000 a year instead of $2,000. That's a 400% increase in her savings rate. That's phenomenal. But here's the brutal math. At $10,000 saved per year, it'll take her 10 years to save $100,000. And that's assuming zero emergencies, zero job loss, zero medical bills, zero life happening to her. Meanwhile, her friend Jake, who's terrible with money, eats out constantly, doesn't even know what a budget is, starts a side business detailing cars on weekends. He makes an extra $15,000 that first year. He spends $10,000 of it on stupid stuff because he's not disciplined, but he still ended up with $5,000 more than he would have otherwise. And here's the kicker. Year two, Jake figures out how to scale his business. He hires his cousin. Now he's making an extra $40,000. Even with his wasteful spending, he's pulling ahead of Sarah, who's been perfectly disciplined. This is where it gets really interesting. There's a psychological trap that good with money people fall into that almost guarantees they'll stay poor. It's called scarcity mindset optimization. When you focus exclusively on cutting expenses, your entire financial identity becomes wrapped up in what you don't spend. You feel virtuous when you say no. You feel guilty when you invest in yourself. You start to see every dollar as something to be protected rather than deployed. I see this constantly. Someone will refuse to spend $200 on a course that could teach them a valuable skill, but they'll spend 40 hours over 3 months trying to learn it free on YouTube, piecing together information that's often outdated or contradictory. They just valued their time at $5 an hour, and they'll defend this decision as being financially responsible. Here's the thing you need to understand. Wealthy people aren't good with money in the way you've been taught. They're strategic with money. There's a massive difference. A study from Thomas Stanley's research for The Millionaire Next Door found something fascinating. 85% of millionaires said they spent considerable time planning their investments, but only 35% said they spent considerable time budgeting monthly expenses. They weren't obsessing over whether to buy generic cereal. They were obsessing over how to make their money multiply. Now, you might be thinking, okay, Dexon, but I need to get my finances in order before I can think about investing or starting a business. This is exactly the mindset that keeps you stuck, because here's what nobody tells you. Personal finance advice is designed for people who've already lost the income game. It's damage control. It's triage. Think about it. Every piece of advice is about managing the money you already have. Create a budget. Cut unnecessary expenses. Use the envelope system. Stop buying lattes. None of this advice says, hey, maybe the problem isn't your spending. Maybe it's that you only make $45,000 a year in an economy where that's barely survival income. According to MIT's living wage calculator, a single adult needs approximately $38,000 to $45,000 minimum just to cover basic expenses in most US cities. And that's without saving anything, without retirement, without building wealth. If you're making $50,000 and you need $40,000 just to exist, you have a $10,000 wealth building budget. That's it. That's your entire margin for error and growth. You can optimize that $10,000 all you want. You can invest it perfectly, but you're still operating in a fundamentally broken equation. Let me show you the math that changed how I think about money entirely. If you save $10,000 a year and invest it at an 8% annual average return, in 30 years you'll have about $1.13 million. That sounds great, right? But if you spend just 2 years focused on increasing your income, learning skills, starting a side business, negotiating raises, whatever it takes, and you increase your savings to $25,000 per year and then invest for the remaining 28 years at that same 8% return, you'll have about $2.43 million. You literally more than doubled your wealth by focusing on income for just 2 years instead of obsessing over expense optimization for 30 years. This is where people get it backwards. Here's what most people don't realize. Being good with money often means you're developing the wrong skills entirely. You're getting really good at finding coupons, comparing prices, delaying gratification, managing spreadsheets, resisting impulse purchases. These are fine skills, but they don't make you wealthy. You know what skills make you wealthy? Negotiation, marketing, sales, leadership, problem solving at scale, communication, building systems. Look, I'm not saying budgeting doesn't matter, but if you spend 10 hours a week managing your budget and 0 hours a week developing income-generating skills, you're optimizing the wrong variable. There's actually research on this. A 2023 study from the National Bureau of Economic Research found that people who spent more time on financial management activities, budgeting, expense tracking, coupon hunting, versus income enhancement activities, skill development, networking, side projects, had lower net worth trajectories over 10-year periods, even when controlling for starting income. The people obsessing over saving $50 here and $30 there were falling behind the people who invested that same time and energy into making $500 more per month. This is where it gets really interesting, and this is honestly the part that frustrates me the most about traditional financial advice. Every hour you spend trying to save $20 is an hour you're not spending learning how to earn $200. Let me give you a real scenario. You spend 2 hours driving across town to different grocery stores to save $25 on your weekly shopping. You feel great about this. You're being responsible. But if you spent those same 2 hours learning Facebook ads or copywriting or video editing or how to flip items on eBay, skills that people will pay you for, you could potentially earn $100, $500, or even $1,000 for those 2 hours of applied knowledge within a few months of practice. And here's the kicker. The grocery savings disappear the moment you spend the food. The skill stays with you forever and compounds. Nobody calculates this opportunity cost. Nobody. Now, you might be thinking, but Dexon, I need to eat this week. I need to save money on groceries now. I get it. I'm not saying don't be smart with your money. I'm saying don't let being good with money become your entire financial strategy. The real difference between poor and wealthy thinking. Here's something I need you to understand on a deep level. Poor people ask, can I afford this? Wealthy people ask, how can I afford this? It's a subtle difference in language, but it represents a completely different relationship with money. When you ask, can I afford this about $1,000 course, the answer is usually no. Conversation over. You stay exactly where you are. When you ask, how can I afford this? Your brain starts solving problems. Maybe I can offer freelance services. Maybe I can sell some things I don't use. Maybe I can take on one extra project. Maybe I can negotiate a payment plan. One question closes doors. The other opens them. And look, this isn't about recklessly spending money you don't have. This is about recognizing that at some point, you need to invest in income-generating assets. And the most important asset is you. According to research from the Georgetown University Center on Education and the Workforce, the average person with a bachelor's degree earns $2.8 million over their lifetime, while someone with a high school diploma earns $1.6 million. That's a $1.2 million difference. Now, I'm not saying you need a college degree, but that research proves a point. Investing in your skills and knowledge has a measurable return on investment that completely dwarfs anything you'll save by being good with money. All right, here's what you actually need to do. And I mean starting today, not someday when you're ready. Step 1. Calculate your income ceiling. Take your current annual income, multiply it by 10. That's roughly how much wealth you can build in your lifetime at your current income level, assuming you save 10% and invested decently. If that number excites you, great, keep optimizing. If that number terrifies you, if you realize you'll never afford the life you want at your current income, you need to shift your focus immediately. Step 2. The 80-20 time split. This is the rule that changed everything for me. Spend 80% of your financial improvement time on increasing income and only 20% on optimizing expenses. If you spend 5 hours a week thinking about money, that means 4 hours on learning skills, building a side business, networking, negotiating raises, things that increase income. 1 hour on budgeting and optimization. Step 3. Invest in one income-generating skill. Pick one skill that people will pay for and commit to getting competent at it in 90 days. Video editing, copywriting, graphic design, social media management, web development, digital marketing, consulting in your area of expertise. Don't try to learn everything. Pick one. Go deep. Start offering it as a service even if you charge low rates at first. Step 4. Track income growth, not just expense reduction. Start measuring your financial progress by how much your income increased month over month, not just how much you saved. Saved $200 this month? Great. Did your income increase? No? Then you're playing defense, not offense. Step 5. Calculate the ROI of every financial decision. Before you spend time or money, ask, what's the ROI? Spending 3 hours to save $40 on groceries equals $13.33 per hour return. Spending $500 on a course that helps you earn an extra $300 per month equals 60% monthly ROI, infinite lifetime ROI. When you start thinking this way, your entire relationship with money shifts. Look, I need to be real with you for a second. Being good with money feels safe. It feels responsible. It feels like you're doing the right thing. And in some ways, you are. You're better off than someone who's reckless and drowning in debt. But if your definition of financial success is just not being in debt and having a small emergency fund, you're setting the bar so low that you're guaranteeing yourself a lifetime of financial stress. The gap between being good with money and being wealthy with money is the gap between defense and offense. Defense keeps you from losing. Offense is how you win. And here's the thing that nobody wants to admit. In the current economy, with inflation, rising costs of living, and stagnant wages, defense isn't even enough anymore. You can do everything right, save every penny, and still fall behind because the game is rigged against savers. The only way out is to change the equation, to stop playing the optimization game and start playing the growth game. So here's my challenge to you. For the next 30 days, I want you to spend 0 time thinking about how to save money and 100% of your time thinking about how to earn money. I know that sounds extreme, but you've been doing it the other way for years. How's that working out? What if you took all that mental energy, all that discipline, all that focus you've been putting into cutting expenses and redirected it towards building income? What would your life look like in a year, in 5 years? Because here's what I know. The people who break out of the cycle aren't the people who get better at being poor. They're the people who get better at creating value and capturing income. You don't budget your way to wealth. You earn your way to wealth. So stop being good with money and start being strategic with money. If this video changed how you think about personal finance, hit that subscribe button because I make videos like this every week breaking down the money strategies that actually work, not the ones that just make you feel responsible while keeping you broke. Drop a comment below and tell me, what's one skill you're going to learn in the next 90 days to increase your income? I read every single comment and I want to know what you're working on. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.